When Dale Jr. migrated over to Hendrick Motorsports in 2008, it was one of the biggest moments of NASCAR in the 2000s decade. The crowned prince of the sport joining forces with the juggernaut of Hendrick, Gordon, Johnson, and now Earnhardt all together on one team. It looked perfect for Little E to become a regular championship contender year in and year out. And starting out, it looked great. A win in the Bud Shootout and then his duel was a great start. Then, a points win at Michigan while sitting in the top 4 in points for the entire regular season added even more hype, until it all fell apart at the end. But no matter, the confidence was still high for Junior Nation and the Hendrick team heading into 2009. Unfortunately, it all'd go to hell and back as 2009 unraveled from the beginning. Uncharacteristic mistakes, over-aggressiveness, and near-weekly crashes caused his worst season on record. The Coke 600 that year being so bad speed-wise that he ran 40th off of no issues, just speed. His crew chief and cousin Tony Harry Jr. being sacked in place for Lance McGrew en route to a 25th place points finish, while his teammates went 1, 2, 3 in the championship. The biggest hope was that it was a fluke, that the results to end 2009 weren't indicative of his speed. Unfortunately, that speed would go out for milk and not come back in 2010. The highlight of his season would be a mad dash to a second place finish in the Daytona 500. While he stumbled into the 11th spot points-wise over halfway through the season, it was more that the competition wasn't doing well and was giving up points. The year would end with another sub-20th place finish. In a bit of luck for Junior, all of Hendrick, though, was off in 2010, so it necessarily wasn't all his fault, at least for many. It was the weakest year after all of Jimmy's 5 straight championships, and the rest of the team was winless. To jumpstart his team, Rick Hendrick would do a team swap between the 5, 24, and 88 teams. Junior would have the old 24 team, with Steve Letarte as his new crew chief in 2011, the former crew chief of Jeff Gordon. Most drivers who downright just suck for 2 years with Hendrick equipment and the caliber of Hendrick basically have the end of their career written out. So the biggest hurdle that Letarte would have to, I think, do to resuscitate Earnhardt's career was get his confidence up. And once again, like 08, and in a way 2010, his year did start well, being top 5 in the points after 15 races and legitimately competing for wins. First going head-to-head with Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick at Martinsville, losing in the closing laps, and then in the Coke 600, he had the lead at the white and ran out of gas in the last corner. While he did fall off a bit into the pack as the year went on, he did make the chase for the first time since 2008, finishing 7th in the standings, the highest he had finished since 2006. While being a good improvement, there were still steps to be taken. 2012 would have to be a big jump, and for the second time in 3 years, he would be starting off the runner-up finish in the Daytona 500. But this time, it led to an ungodly level of consistency to start the year. All he needed would be a win, and it came at the site of his last win 4 years prior. The Michigan International Speedway. Dominating the day, the black number 88 Dark Knight Rises Chevy was perfect. All was right in the world, and this win was part of a record that Junior would tie with the most consecutive lead lap finishes. This altogether led him to also taking over the points lead for the first time since 2004. But again, like 2008, it unraveled when it mattered most. After starting slow in the chase, he'd suffer a concussion at Talladega that officially ended his title bid again. For the second time at Hendrick, he'd finished 12th and last in the chase standings, in a result that in no way was indicative of how well he ran during the season. But there was plenty to build towards, and with the brand new Gen 6 car debuting in 2013, the slate was partially wiped clean. And again, he'd have a solid regular season, getting in with fairly good ease. This season, honestly, though, gets forgotten when it comes to Dale Jr. for a few reasons. First off, the rain-plagued race started the chase at Chicagoland. We're running top 5 to 10 for the opening part of the daytime segment. Damage entering the pits and an ensuing blown engine would end his title bid again before it even began, which is a shame because Earnhardt put together one of the best 9 race runs of his career. Scoring 353 points in this span, he was second in points scored only to eventual champion and teammate Jimmie Johnson. While there were no wins, there were plenty of top 5s and top 10s and averaging a finish of 5.6. It also capped off one of the most impressively put together seasons ever without a win in NASCAR. 10 top 5s and a career-high 22 top 10s. Heading into 2014, the Earnhardt-Letarte pairing looked like a freight train headed towards a championship. But chances of derailment did go up because of the new NASCAR TV deal. With NBC's 2015 return, they wanted to put together a new and young team. Crew chief Steve Letarte would be part of this as the crew chief analyst, meaning that Letarte was a lame duck with the surging 88 team heading into 2014. And after a 2013 season with 5 second-place finishes, the number one goal would to be getting into victory lane, and Earnhardt wouldn't have to wait long. With a hell of a start in a brand new chase format that locks drivers in with a win, the playbook was wide open. Earnhardt also was red hot. 2 second-place finishes, including running out of fuel while leading on the last lap in Sin City, showed that he had speed to compete in just about every race. Nearly winning at Darlington with a stealing win as well, and also having a summer surge that many, and most fans honestly, will probably remember from 2014. Hendrick Motorsports has always been good at finding openings and opportunities at tracks that other teams can't and jumping on them quickly. And the freshly repaved Pocono Raceway was the latest of these tracks. HMS was rolling with 3 straight wins at the track, and nobody else was really close. In those 3 races, they'd lead 316 of the run 418 laps. Jeff Gordon letting the seas part for his first win of 2012. Jimmie Johnson took a Sunday drive in the first Gen 6 race at the Tricky Triangle, and Casey Kane earned a hard-fought win in the second Pocono race of that year. But it was Dale Jr. who was the odd man out. Bad fast, but always the bridesmaid for one reason or another. So, how would he and crew respond? Well, with a piece of history. For most of the June day in Pennsylvania, he'd be a top 5 driver. But time and time again, bad Brad Keselowski would outclass the field and Junior on restarts. Yet, the final one was different. The Red 2 had trash all over the grill. And with the Penske Ford bogging down because of it, he was desperate for relief, opening the door. While a fun win, the exciting one was still to come. Coming to the second Pocono race, it was Jeff Gordon who would have the HMS speed, leading for much of the day. But part of racing at Pocono is the strategy plays, and the 88 had it over the 24, taking a bit of a different route after a late restart, cycling the 88 out to the lead, and a commanding one at that with less than 10 laps to go. But it was too good to be true, leading to a late 3-lap duel with Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano. And with that, Dale Earnhardt Jr. would be the 7th driver to complete the Pocono sweep, one of an eventual 8 drivers who are all going to be headed or already are at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. With plenty of good season momentum heading into the chase, he had it rolling through round 1. And with the fastest car at Kansas, it was looking really good until it wasn't, especially when the shifter the next week would break at Charlotte, leading to another bad finish. Well, that sucks, but all roads lead to Talladega, where it just sucked more. With the 2014 chase, the regular season didn't translate at all past round 1, so these 3 bad races would ruin what was a great season. But there was still races to be won, and an especially special one at that for Earnhardt. Dale Jr. had always been a great short track driver, but with competition like Jeff Gordon, Jimmie Johnson, and Denny Hamlin, it was always tough sledding at Martinsville up towards the front. But this day was different. Again, a day with a heavy dosage of Jeff Gordon leading, the 88 would end up getting the lead late thanks to good strategy and good driving, managing a lead over his legendary teammate before, again, a late yellow, giving a mad dash to the finish once more, this time with Junior on fresh tires. While not winning a title in 2014, it was the peak for Earnhardt at Hendrick Motorsports and the completion of a hell of a career comeback. 2015 was a great follow-up to that as well. With former JRM crew chief Greg Ives now jumping atop the 88 team box, again he was a model of consistency. Not only tying his 22 top 10s that 2013 had, but also tying a career high of 16 top 5s that he had only ever done before in his elite 2004 campaign. With this, he popped off once more at the super speedways, taking home a long-awaited 6th Talladega win with the help and a returned favor in the 2011 form from teammate Jimmy Johnson. His summer Daytona race, well, that one was more dominant, but nobody really remembers it for obvious reasons. While still a top-tier year due to the reset, the 88 would be on the hot seat again. After a mediocre run at Chicagoland, it led to the room of error being nothing. And, well, an error would come atop the box at Loudon when it came to strategy. The first of many times that Junior Nation be missing Steve Letarte. He'd run out of fuel and be below the cut line heading into Dover, having to have a bunch of late race heroics to barely move on, and the nightmare of round 2 would only strike once more, leading again to a Dega heartbreak. In a race that Junior himself says was some of the best driving he'd ever done when it came to a super speedway, he would duel Joey Logano for a late race restart and the ability to go to the next round. But due to the Dillon wreck from earlier at Daytona, the overtime rules mainly were changed and reduced to one attempt, meaning there was no chance for Junior to do so, with some shenanigans going on in the pack as well. But again, 2015 would echo 2014, with a win right at the end of the year, this time thanks to a greatly timed yellow at Phoenix and a suspiciously long-running caution before the rains washed the event completely away. Nevertheless, Dale's first rainout win would be his final career Cup win. And overall, his career is a story that shows a highlight of pure tenacity when all else fails and great redemption, and one of the greatest resurgences in the history of NASCAR racing.